I know it looks bad. I know it feels bad, but it isn't as bad as it feels. I know it seems like there's no way out, but that is not true at all. There are many occasions when just because you can't see what's out there doesn't mean that there isn't a solution that's out there. I want to talk with you, and I want to be on your side, and I want to empathize with you, but I don't want to keep this story of what's wrong active in your vibration, and I don't want to activate what's wrong in your life in my vibration, because I know for sure it's not good for you and it's not good for me. The most important thing I want to say to you is you have not done anything wrong. So you don't need to ask me to choose sides with you against him or against them, because I don't think you've done anything wrong to begin with. I think you're just sorting this out and you're finding your way. I have a sense of the power of who you are, and I've always liked so much of that which I see in you. The thing that I can feel in the strongest way is that the circumstances that you're living are making you ask big time questions. And I believe that every person who has ever overcome anything and found themselves eventually in a much better place has been standing right where you are. And I just want to say, there is nothing wrong with where you're standing as far as I'm concerned, except that you feel so bad while you're standing there. And that's the part that I would like to help with. I so want you to feel better. I so want life to treat you in the way that you deserve to be treated. But you're like so many of us. You've got some habits going on that are preventing what you want from coming into your experience. And so little by little, I'm going to show you how you can focus differently and then live differently. But this is not the best time for us to try to make that happen, because there's a momentum going that has to sort of peter out. And it will peter out if you can stop talking about it and thinking about it, which pretty much means you need a nap. You need some way of distracting yourself from what's going on here, because your mind is so active. You have such a brilliant mind, and you're fixating on things that you don't want. And the more you fixate on those things that you don't want, the more you attract more of those things that you don't want. So they keep proving to you what you think. If you could just find some respite from this momentum of these negative thoughts, things would get better for you right away. I know that there are periods of your life that you remember that were better than what's going on right now. And I want you to know, I believe this with everything that I am, that you don't have to go back to the beginning of something and start over, because where you are is in a perfect place to begin again. But you can't begin again by regurgitating everything that's wrong. That just keeps the momentum of the stuff you don't want going in your experience. You got to take a nap. You got to start again, and you got to reach for some thought that feels better to you. And it is my promise to you that day by day by day, it's like, imagine that you had in your lungs this red inky mist. You're just generating it. And every time you open your mouth, it blows out into the atmosphere just ahead of you. So there's always this red fog everywhere you go, because you just keep opening your mouth and spewing it. So everywhere you go, there's that red fog, and it never gets any better because you keep spewing it. So every step you take, you've got this fog that you're trying to make your way through. But now you've had your nap. You're not spewing it. While you slept, you didn't spew it. And when you first opened your eyes, there was a clear space till you remembered what was going wrong and started talking about it again. So if you can just stop talking about what's gone wrong for just a little while, that space will clear, and other things you want will move into that space. You are the generator. I know it's hard to see, say to her. I know it's hard for you to see. It doesn't feel like you're generating this because you don't want it. And at deep levels of your being, you do not believe that you would do this to yourself. But at every level of my being, I know that we and only we are doing it to ourselves. My love for you is so strong that I am wanting to say to you, I don't want to be a sounding board of what's going wrong. I think we're all too much in our heads. We're all spending too much time trying to justify where we stand in our powerful desire for somebody to look at us and say, yes, you are a good person and you're standing in a good place because all of those reasons say that it's so. You don't have to explain nothing to nobody. You don't have to explain anything. And the more you try to justify or defend or rationalize, the more you spew that stuff that just keeps what you want to see unavailable to you. So now, pretty good explanation, don't you think? Then the next conversation will go like this. I'm glad that you feel so much better. Because when I first started napping my way into alignment, I discovered that when I first awakened, everything felt so much different that for a little while, it was as if the world was responding to me differently. Oh, it doesn't take long before you start remembering what's wrong, especially when you're surrounded by the evidence of it. But everything started getting better for me because when I made my first realization that I do feel better when I first wake up, I do feel better when I first wake up. Now, after you've had a nap or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10, once you've given this a little bit of time and you're waking up and just sensing how you feel, recognizing that you do feel better, you're going to begin to feel clarity in your mind that's going to feel like something that you remember from before. That's the first thing that happened to me, say. I started to feel clear. I started to feel clear-minded. I felt less like I wanted to explain anything to anybody that would then make it less clear. This is important. And so I started keeping more to myself until my clarity was more secure. And then amazing things began happening to me. People who were commonly behaving in a way that was not pleasing were moving out of my experience. Or if they were there, they began responding differently to me. I understood then for the first time something that somebody told me. I am the center that is evoking it. And I never would have believed it if I hadn't napped myself into that knowing. I never would have believed it because I was on such a roll of trying to prove my worthiness, trying to defend. I had to show myself that when I stopped defending, the reasons to defend all went away. And in place of those reasons to defend came a feeling of well-being that started to prove itself to me too. It is as if whatever I'm feeling is being proved to me. When I feel unworthy, stuff happens that just supports that. And when I feel better about myself, stuff happens that just supports that. And so, little by little, I'm no longer someone who wants to debate issues. I don't want to talk about all of the different ways of living life. They are endless, and they're all right for somebody. I just discovered that I want to feel good, and I can think thoughts that do feel good, and when I do that consistently, things that match those thoughts, other people, other experiences, it's like I am the center of my universe, and they are all too. Time for another nap. So then, it's going pretty well. Starting to listen, starting to feel better. And then we would say, I got to tell you now everything that I know. And it's so simple. It's like learning the use of a tool. Here is a tool that chops down trees. And you can chop down trees anywhere you want, and you can make anything you want from them. I'm just going to teach you how to use the tool. And once you've got the tool, you can create anything that you want with it. So here is the tool. You are the creator of your own reality because you are the thinker and therefore the feeler of your own experience. If you, for whatever reason, find thoughts that make you feel ornery first thing in the morning, you will establish yourself on what I like to call a sort of ornery disc. It's like this spinning ornery disc, and ornery people will come out of the woodwork to play with you. If you feel despair, every thought you've ever thought about your inability to control your own reality will come into your experience, and the world will beat up on you today. If you find love or appreciation and you spin on that disc, it's what I try to do, say, things and people and experiences will come out of the woodwork to demonstrate to you the point of attraction that you have accomplished. You are the creator of your reality, whether you like it or not. And you get to create a reality that you like or not. I wouldn't have taken the time to explain this to you if I didn't know for sure that you want it, and if I didn't know for sure that you could do it. Have you ever been in a conversation where somebody's explaining something that's gone wrong, and the more they explain and you understand, the more animated they become, the more details they begin to bring into their experience. And then the more you debate it and the more you talk about it, the worse you feel. And no good ever comes from the conversation. Does any good ever come from the conversation? Oh, you want to call it a life lesson? It's a life lesson. We're not making fun of you and we're not criticizing you in any way. But the thing that we want you to understand is you never get to the bottom of those things because there is no bottom. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You finally have to say, the only thing that matters is how I feel. And I'm reaching into movies and into conversations and into memories and into exposure to life that feels good. And once you show yourself that, what we've noticed about so many of you is that you want to be engaged in life. You want to be interested. You want life to be meaningful. And what you've discovered is that in the early stages of aligning, it's a little boring. In other words, the perfect alignment tool is meditation. No thought at all. No thought at all will bring you into alignment, but it's boring. And most of you would rather be engaged on a negative subject than bored in alignment. But what we want you to understand is that there is something more that comes after, because what we were talking about with your friend is bringing her all the way back from all of the details, back from the details, back from the details, back from the details, back to the details into something that is going to feel a little boring at first. Because no thought. You mean you don't want me to talk about those things? Really don't want you to talk about those things. So you stand in a sort of nice weather, huh? Go Broncos. Wonder what we should get to eat. In other words, it feels like less interest, less details. But once you maintain that vibrational beingness for a while, you will come into alignment with the energy that creates worlds, and you will find yourself involved in details, in intimacy, in exposure to life that is more satisfying, more interesting than any of that stuff that you've been complaining about. So there is this coming back from the negative and then this staying in this neutral place for a while. But as our promise to you, it will begin to rev up and it will become fascinating. And your life will take your breath away as you move from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another.